What am I going to do with my life? That's the big question. So today I thought I would share with you things I thought about in sort of the system, you could say, what I was going to do with my life. And it's a 3-step method. I really had to think about this to record this video to sort of figure out how did I do it to come up with my own strategy or my own plan of approach. And how could I share it with you? And so this is what I came up with. Method number 1, and I'm going to give you some examples of how I did it as we move through this. So method number 1 is the obituary approach. And what I mean by that is if you were going to write your own obituary, what do you want to be written there for everybody to read? What's going to be your story? Because right now where you stand, you might be in a position where you're like, oh, it's not the greatest. It's not what I want people to remember me for, or it's perfect. It's of course up to you, but if you're going to write your obituary today, what's that ideal story that you want people to know about you? For me, I know when I thought about that, and it's funny now that I'm saying it now, so many years back when I don't even remember who told me, but this was something that I heard was, well, what if you were going to read your obituary? What would it say? And so I considered that, and I was like, okay, well, that's an interesting approach to sort of sorting out what you want to do with your life, or what am I doing with my life? So what's going to be in that obituary? And for me, it was like, how do I help as many people as I can help? I was like, I want it to say that I've reached not even just hundreds of people, but thousands of people, or tens of thousands of people that I've helped them have better lives. For me, I love to teach. I mean, I'm talking to you now on a YouTube channel. I do webinars, I do coaching, I am on seminars with people, I do radio interviews, or if I get asked to speak at a live event. That's what really excites me. That's what really gets me going, is talking to other people and showing them how to be great at their small business or their private practice, or whatever that is that I can help them be great. And of course, it's usually around marketing, because of course, marketing and PR, what I do, but even below that, it's how to be great with what you're gonna do. And so hopefully this can help you in a similar way. So maybe you can take that obituary approach and even write it out, like literally write out, take a read to some obituaries, wherever, Google them or find them in a newspaper if it'd be old school. And what does that obituary say? Go to write your own obituary. It's a little morbid potentially, but write it out, see what it says, and then what would you want it to say in a perfect world about you. Okay, good. That's method number 1 to figuring out what you want to do with your life. Method number 2 is alternate reality. What I mean by that is, first, consider doing nothing, right? And for me, I considered, this is probably 10 years back for me, if I did nothing and changed nothing from what I was currently doing and how my life was currently at that time, what would be the end result? If I just went down the same path but did nothing to change. And I knew that that was not what I wanted. The first part of alternate reality is consider the doing nothing aspect. And so the second part of alternate reality is something completely different, like 180 degrees of what you're currently doing. Envision the idea of doing something entirely different. I don't know what it is. You'll have to envision it for yourself, but you're doing this. Alternate reality is completely switch it up to maybe something that is like completely out there but is exciting to you. And what does that look like 5 years, 10 years down the road? So do that alternate reality of something completely different. What does that look like? And how would that set you up for what your life would be like 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, towards the end of your life? What is that, right? And that's what I did 10 years ago, is that alternate reality of, if I changed everything to be like my ideal situation. And the third part of alternate reality is really interesting, because you have to look at, are you doing nothing, or are you not changing potentially because of somebody else? Is somebody else holding you back? Is a family member making you feel yourself to like you might upset somebody else. You might make them think you're crazy or weird, or you're just thinking too outside the box. So you've got to consider when you do this second part, this method number 2 of alternate reality, you've got to consider, is somebody holding you in that position of doing nothing when you really want to shift everything? Because it's your life. And when I looked at this 10 years ago, I did have to go, wow, like, am I really trying to please somebody else that it's not in my best interest and in the best interest of my envisioned future with a family that I want to have and with these things that I want to have in place down the road? Because it is your life, and that's what we're talking about here. So in this alternate reality step, take a good hard look at, are you doing this or not doing something for somebody else? Is that holding you back? Because you're going to have to do something potentially dramatic or change some agreements to accomplish an alternate reality. Method 3 of this 3-step approach to what do you want to do with your life is envisioning the ideal situation for yourself. And how do you do that? For me, I'm a little bit cerebral, so I guess for me, I did it in my head, but it's probably not best to do it in your head. I know with my wife, what she does is she will create like a vision board. And this is a literal physical thing where you can get a big piece of cardboard or even a wall and put up pictures off of Pinterest, print it off on a printer out of magazines, you know, whether it's like a home magazine, GQ, Vogue, House and Garden, whatever magazines, which are great ideas. Paste a vision board together, and this is just an idea, and it's something my wife did, which was creating the ideal setup for the family, ideal home, offices, environment, landscaping, vacations. It's quite a fun process, and I really enjoyed watching her do it for us from her perspective. Mine, my life, good or bad, it tends to be around business. It tends to be around my teaching of other people and helping and reaching as many people as I can to help them be great, have great businesses, have great practices. That's sort of my game. And I was, like I said, very cerebral about how I did that and how I envisioned it. And I put it there very solidly that I was going to shift completely 10 years ago what I was doing to move it in that direction. And I can say, if you know me and if you've seen things I'm doing, you'll see that, I've not done it perfectly by any means, but I've gone in that direction strongly. But to watch my wife do it for the family was exciting because she did it in a vision board way. And there's probably other names for this idea, but you could literally do it on a wall, do it on cardboard and paste it together. And you put in the physical world in front of you that ideal to set it up, to go for it. So those are things that I did with my wife for our family. And between you and me, it was something that we approached really about 10 years ago, but you do it and you really figure it out. And then you take a fresh look at it from time to time and you go, where are we on this path? Do we need to adjust? Because we certainly over the last 10 years have adjusted many times. But I'll tell you, if you put it out there solidly when you do this method, right? These 3 steps I've talked to you about, which are obituary approach, alternate reality, and ideal life. And you do that very solidly. At some point, you've got to do these 3 steps at some point in your life, solidly set it down. Because then you'll find you're going in that direction. And as you adjust through time, 6 months, a year, 5 years, you adjust, you see where you're at, you keep going in that direction. But if you set it down solidly, you'll find, and for me, it's the case, because this was 10 years ago, and 10 years later, we are solidly on that path still. And it's a path. We're not at the end of it. Life, like you've heard people talk about, it's the journey, not the destination. I think that's so true because the fun and the excitement and the effort and the challenges and adventure is the journey, right? It's as going towards that ideal that's sort of unreachable. I think if you look at it as an ideal and you put it out as an ideal that's so out there and so high that you're going to be on that journey, on that adventure for a while. And I mean, good luck to you if you in 10 years you actually arrive, or in 20 years you actually arrive. Fantastic. For me, I can't envision retirement. Retirement's not something I ever consider, because I'm going to be helping people by the hundreds, by the thousands, the hundreds of thousands. That's my game, right? And your game is going to be your game. Do these methods. I hope it helps. I'd love to see in the comments ways you've approached this, or if you've tried this, what happened for you. Give me some feedback. Good luck. I'll see you on the next video.